So for a while now, I've been playing with the idea of doing like high-end one-on-one ski coaching. Like, you know, I do this follow cam skiing behind people, my friends, as we're just blasting around, but to actually get a client person and then go behind them and see what they're doing right or wrong, and then show the video and correct whatever problems. And because I don't know, I constantly stare at people's technique and then pick it apart, say what they're doing right or wrong. Because people can be really good skiers, you can be really good, you know, you're getting around zippy, but you still have like inefficiencies in your technique. So I'm putting this video together to like trying to be this the most bare minimum. Like if I was going to write a bunch of code into a ski bot, we'll call it the ski bot 1000, it's a robot, it's AI, an AI generated, an AI controlled ski machine. If I were to plug in this code and then based on these parameters, it would then have to go out and get the volume and then self-correct and get better, you would think. And that's what I like to think of as, you know, once you ski enough, you can get programmed to like every variable. You're not surprised by any variable anymore. And that's what we're striving for. So super duper basic stuff. It's super basic, but it's also, it's like, I feel like you can be talking to a beginner skier, but also we'll get into the higher end, like fine tuning and like almost a mental shift on how to feel like you're skiing when it's steeper and faster. So first basic on my trailer here is you want your feet shoulders apart, not like this, not like that. Well, sometimes like this, but no, you want to be striving for shoulder width, and then bending your knees and hips evenly so your shoulders are coming down like this, not like this, not like this, not like this. The idea being, if you're like an accordion, you want to like crunch evenly, and then as you crunch evenly, you have to think of like the McPherson strut design, like on those trophy trucks. Your little legs widen as you squat, so there's like a, you know, you're trying to think about all that suspension you have. I mean, there's 2 feet right there, there's my momentum, there's like another 2 feet up here. I got like 4 feet of travel right here. So, oh, geez Louise. I need to drink a coffee. So, you're squatting nicely. Second, you want these legs to stay parallel to each other through the turns. You don't want to be doing this like that is your strength. So you want these to be parallel to each other. So say you're in a turn, you know, your weight's coming down through your hips, you know, you want it to be transferring the same way in a house. You want the studs to line up to the floor joists, to line up to the studs of the next floor, to line up to the roof rafters. You know, you want them to all be stacked on top of each other. So, and then within that, your skis, you're aiming for 50-50 kind of weight distribution, but it's more of a 60-40, kind of shifts in the 60-40, but always ready to like correct. Like you could take 90-10 or whatever, but you're like always like trying to equal balance them. So you want to equal balance them, and then within the turn, your skis are striving for parallel. So these are parallel, your skis are parallel, until you come to the end of the turn, when you're going to have to, you end up doing a miniature snowplow no matter what, basically, like in powder at least, because this turn is the one that breaks you. You know, your downhill foot is down. Your downhill foot breaks you like this. Your uphill foot yaws like this. So it's like this one does the pitch, which is the brake acceleration as I'm in a turn. I can brake, bring it back. As soon as you bring that back, you're gonna, you know, drop in your turn, accelerate. Where your uphill foot is, it's up here, you know, bent knee's a strong knee, and this leg's more bent than that leg, generally. This ski's kind of yawing back and forth, pulling you in, slowing you down, or to the tail and speeding you up. You know, because that, you know, you weight the tail, then you break that, you know, they work in concert with each other. But then that, you know, you come up for your legs, to your hips, get to your shoulders and your head basically want to stay perpendicular to the steepness of the slope. When I get into the steepness of the slope, like imagine horsepower. Imagine, you know, this is your horsepower. The slope is this steep, you've got 0 horsepower. It's that steep, there's 100, so let's call it 0 to 100. Here, you know, it's a 45-degree pitch. We call that 50 horsepower. So instead of just gravity, gravity affects you differently based on the steepness, obviously. So instead of imagining gravity as the pull of potential energy, visualize it in acceleration. It's like, oh, if it's this steep, I've got this amount of horsepower, therefore my turns have to be strong enough to withstand that energy. I'm trying to make this seem simple, but it's like I'm overthinking it. It's super basic physics, but it's also overthought scheme analysis, which is pretty funny. But I love to think about, you know, the steeper training. It really becomes noticeable if it's really steep, you know, 50-degree type stuff, 45-degree terrain, but your head is parallel to the slope. You no longer are like, oh, I don't want to fall down this hill. As if up and down, you shift it so that you feel like you're on a flat plane. So I might be on a 45-degree pitch, but your head is parallel, perpendicular to that pitch, so you might as well be on the flat desert. See what I'm saying? But you're working with 50 horsepower, or if it's this steep, you're working with 80 horsepower, 75 horsepower, 20 horsepower, right? And the whole time you're just mentally tricking yourself that it's not a steepness issue at all. It's a horsepower issue, and it becomes a steering issue of how to control this much horsepower, because you can have a truck or a snowmobile or whatever's got so much horsepower, the chassis can't hold it or the transmission can't hold it. It's like too much power. That's what happens when it gets so steep. Your transmission, your chassis and your suspension can't deal with the extremities, the extremes of the whatever steepness. So we get into pole planting. I love talking about pole planting. It's the easiest, most basic thing to yell at your kid to improve. But lots of people, you can pole plant a bunch of different wrong ways. It's amazing. Basics. Don't let your hands come in front. Don't cross this shoulder line. So my hand doesn't want to come past this shoulder line. Don't let it go past back shoulder line. Don't let it go above your shoulder. Don't let it go below your waist. Point your forearms where you're going. Don't have them open like this. Don't have them open like this. And also, don't have your wrist ever go above your elbow. And it's not a don't ever ever. None of these are don't ever evers, because you've got to obviously do stuff as you're doing it. But like I said, as if these were code you were punching into an AI ski bot machine, you want it to be doing these things. Like my hands, this is my most balanced spot. And then in that steepness of the slope, if your head's perpendicular and your shoulder's perpendicular, you know, now you're powerful and ready. So when it comes to actual pole planting, I think my #1 pet peeve on the pole plant is the pre-long, like you're in this epic powder turn and you're like skiing along, but people they're pointing their pole downhill like this. No, don't ever do that. Basic rule. Don't let your pole ever go front past vertical on the front. And when you're pole planting, like I'm turning this way and I'm about to turn left, lead with your hand, not your pole. People like, oh, I want to pole plant down there, so they start reaching. Look, my hand's above my elbow. I'm doing the long point. And you might like, oh, I'm gonna pull, and then you stab and pole plant and you make the turn. You're like, no, bad. The pole plant, you don't need the pole plant to ski. It's all about a timing for your body to be in the right position. The pole plant is like a symptom of the perfect stance or perfect form, I guess you could say. So when I'm going into the pole plant, I'm turning right and I want to turn left. I'm gonna pole plant with my left hand, you know, lead with my hand. Look, my basket's trailing. You lead. What this does, I'm going this way, the pitch is this way, my shoulders are parallel to the ground, my head's perpendicular to the ground. Lead hand, and then the pole comes at the last second. You're like leading, pop, get it, turn. Same thing. Lead, pop, get it. You don't lead with a long reaching pole plant. It drives me insane. These are first world problems. What drive you insane? So yes, we've got our AI ski bot machine. I just said 10 rules on 10 pieces of code that you would put into the system to get the ski bot to go as perfect as possible. Perfect would be just efficient stacking your energy from your weight through your skis. So we got parallel lower legs, squatting evenly, hands out front, hands not coming past shoulders. There's like, pretend there's a blocker, not even going, this is way too far anyway. You're kind of like here. Don't go back here, because look, I opened up, and the reason you're pole planting is to position your arms, to position your shoulders, which positions your head, which positions your eyeballs and where you're going to go, because your body will go where your eyes are looking, which positions, so it's like a chicken or the egg. I'm going to go where my eyes are looking, but I got to steer my feet to get there, or I'm steering my feet and then I got to look where I'm going, right? If you don't know how to ski, you know, you don't know how to look ahead, so you might just be going down the hill willy-nilly, not feeling what your legs are doing and where it's putting you. So you got your positioning under control, you know, then you got your shoulders, everything stacks up. Hey Bobo, I just thought about downhill biking, and downhill biking, it puts you in the perfect position because you're on this bike and your hands are there. That's the beauty of downhill biking, actually. And I remember when I first got into it, I realized it was like ski poles or handlebars. Your hands are in the perfect position. The downhill bike puts them there. And there's the saying, the joke, if your hands are on the handlebars, you're in control. It's the exact same thing with skiing. If your hands are there for skiing, you're in control, because your focus and your intention is going where you want to go, and you're looking to where you want to go, so it should all work out. And on the downhill bike, you know, you have your feet on the pedals, you know, exactly the same. Like a low pedal, if I'm turning right, you put your low pedal down here. You don't want your pedal down on the inside because you're going to drag through a rock on the inside. So as you turn through your turns, you're cycling your feet one way or the other. Hands are on the handlebars, making it easy for you. You don't have to put your hand there to time it like a pole plant. It's just there. But it's just a good way to visualize what we're trying to achieve here. The best skier. We're trying to bring the best skiers out. All right, the 10 pieces of code for the AI ski bot. Bend knees. I just wrote this all down, so I'm reading my notes right here. Bend knees more and widen stance, but not too much. Squat down rather than bend only at waist. Yes, we got it. Lower legs strive for parallel. Got it. Skis strive for parallel within the turn. Got it. And you want to do the 40-60 between the feet. Just imagine it's a 40-60, 40-60 as you're shifting, but you have to do these extreme compensations as they happen. Eyes are forward and perpendicular to the slope. Your head is perpendicular to the slope. Arms are forward but not past the shoulders, not behind the shoulders, not above the shoulders, not below the waist. Wrist is not above the elbow. Arms point where you're going. Don't open them like this, don't open them, don't close them like that. A lot of people do this. I call it the ski patrol stance. I don't know why they all do it. I think it's because they all wear backpacks. Something about that's like hunching you forward so you get the wide elbow thing going on. Like, you might be perfect everywhere else, but the elbows are out. Or I see people, they do this and they're like pole planting. And combo with the timing, you want the timing of your body. You know, it's the timing for the turn, but it's also the ability to compensate for the shocks. Like, this is your athletic stance, wide and low. This is it. Like, you couldn't push me over. But if I'm standing like this, you know, I could get pushed over. And, you know, so as you pole plant, you're leading with the hand, not the pole. Don't let the pole go past vertical on the front. Like, you might flip just a little, you know, you're doing this, but never, I'm turning, and then doing the long, I'm gonna pole plant down there. Like, and some people, a lot of people are asymmetrical with it. They'll do one, not the other. Or telemarkers will do the dreaded double pole plant. But you want to lead with a hand. The reason you lead with a hand is because it's driving your elbow and your shoulder to the right position, driving your head, and which pushes your hips, and then your feet are coming up from the bottom in the right position. Therefore, you're in the right position. Or if I got this, you know, my high elbow, look, high elbow, then it turns my shoulder back, and all of a sudden you're like losing position. And it'll be in the middle of the turn. So you'll be in the middle of the turn, you're doing 40 miles an hour, you're like in this blasting, and all of the variables are trying to like kick you off your feet, like a big chundry gnar. Straps flap around. And within that, you know, this ski's doing the fore aft, this one's doing the yaw, you know, if it's steep, and then these hands are where you're like controlling it. Like, this is where all of the, you want all the variables to kind of come out of your hands as it's absorbed. Hopefully there's not a lot, you know, it should be pretty smooth still. So say you've got all these data points you plug into your ski bot, and then you go fast. Fast being fast as the conditions allow, or faster. Like, that's been my whole personal how to ski better, or how I have friends ski better, is like go faster than, you're right on the edge of control. Like, you're in control, but it might be uncomfortable. There'll be a turn that was uncomfortable, like, oh, I almost lost it. But that's how you get, it's like you're in your box of ability. You're in your little box of ability and experience, and you just want to like squeak it open, like by going fast. And going fast is the best way, the easiest way to do that. You could go big, you know, that's a whole nother thing. A lot of people can huck big cliffs or big jumps, but they can barely ski between the jumps. You know, jumping is a whole nother entire subject outside of actual skiing. I was trying to simplify all this, trying to sound simple. I probably complicated it, overthought it, as I do. Ski fast, take chances. Thanks for watching.